Thought you were lying, bro. And Joe Rogan up in here lying to me, telling me this dude this good. I mean, this is Sean Strickland.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Bro,
With a left hook. With a left hook.
I mean, the guy who's now the middleweight
Champion of the world.
Yeah. Dude, he's got 2 world titles and 11 fights.
In 2 years.
It's insane.
From sneaky kicks to straight-up terrifying knockouts, Alex Pereira is hands down one of the scariest strikers in MMA right now. Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier recently sat down to break down what makes this guy so dangerous. Crazy power, awkward but deadly movement, and that ice-cold mindset that has his opponents second-guessing every move. But it's not just about his skills. They also talked about how insanely fast he took over the fight game. And let's be real, when Rogan's calling you one of the best kickboxers ever, you know you're built different.
And if you get too close, he's gonna punch you.
Yeah. Well, he's so long, and he's also so odd in his striking
His movements. He's like this tall.
Yeah.
He's tall.
They're very odd.
And he's like, and if you get close, it's the right hand. Even that thing he does when he's walking out, and he does this thing, and he throws his combination.
Yeah.
It doesn't look fluid. He's like boom, boom, boom. But you know, like if that dude hits you with that, you're going to sleep.
You go to sleep. Everybody goes to sleep.
Yuri's in there dancing and shit. Yuri's like doing all kind of like weird stuff, right? And Alex is like
just stone face.
Stone face. Like I'm going to.
Rogan pointed out just how sneaky Pereira is with his kicks, emphasizing that if an opponent gets too close, they're going to get caught with a punch. Dude is so sneaky with that kick, and if you get too close, he's going to punch you, Rogan said, highlighting Pereira's ability to mix up his attacks and keep his opponents guessing.
Oh my gosh.
Bro.
Cormier agreed and expanded on how awkward yet effective Pereira's striking movements are. Well, he's so long, and he's also so odd in his striking movements, Cormier explained. He pointed out that Pereira's unorthodox style makes it difficult for opponents to anticipate his next move. Despite his height and reach, Pereira doesn't move like a typical tall fighter. His approach is unpredictable, which makes him even more dangerous in the cage. Rogan then described Pereira's striking rhythm, noting that it doesn't always look fluid, but the power behind it is undeniable. Even that thing he does when he's walking out and he does this real thing and he throws his combination, it doesn't look fluid, Rogan observed. He's like boom, 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 but you know, like if that dude hits you with that, you're going to sleep. You go to sleep. Everybody goes to sleep. The raw power in Pereira's punches is enough to put anyone down, and Rogan emphasized that his opponents can't afford to make mistakes when facing him.
Yuri starting southpaw. Struggled with the kicks last time. Problem with this though is if he starts southpaw and Pereira beats up that outside leg, then he can't change and he'll be forced to stay.
The conversation then shifted to Pereira's demeanor and mindset in the octagon. While some fighters, like Gigi Prochazka, move around with unpredictable and flashy footwork, Pereira remains completely composed. Jerry's in there dancing and shht, Rogan said, describing Prochazka's movement-heavy style. Meanwhile, Pereira is the complete opposite. Alex is like just stone face. Stone face. Cormier chimed in, calling one of Pereira's stare downs one of the greatest stare downs ever. There's no emotion, no unnecessary movement, just pure focus and a deadly intention to win. I'm going to kill you, Rogan said, mimicking Pereira's intimidating presence. Rogan and Cormier perfectly captured what makes Pereira such a terrifying fighter. His combination of raw power, sneaky attacks, and a stone-cold mindset sets him apart from others in the division. When he steps into the cage, he's not there to play games. He's there to end fights.
I'm like, man, Joe Rogan up in here lying to me, telling me this dude this good. He's this. See, I'm telling you, because I'll be.
But their discussion didn't stop at Pereira's fighting style. They also dove into just how dominant he really is. Cormier admitted that at first he wasn't completely sold on Pereira's hype. Man, Joe Rogan up in here lying to me, telling me this dude this good, he joked. He explained that while he had seen some of Pereira's fights, he hadn't fully studied his kickboxing career. I had watched him a little bit. I hadn't watched all of his kickboxing. I was like, okay, this dude's supposed to be good. Let me watch a little bit, Cormier said, admitting he wasn't sure if Pereira was really as special as people were saying. But Rogan wasn't having it. He was confident that Pereira was the real deal and made sure to let Cormier know. You come in and you're like, DC, wait until you see this Pereira in real life. And I'm like, okay, he's good, Cormier recalled, admitting that he had his doubts. He had seen good strikers before, plenty of them, and while Pereira had hype, DC wasn't ready to put him on that level just yet. But then Rogan hit him with a statement that made him pause. DC, he might be the best kickboxer that we've ever had. That was a big claim, especially coming from someone like Rogan, who had been around the fight game for decades.
To be honest with you, I had watched him a little bit. I hadn't watched all of his kickboxing. I was like, okay, this dude's supposed to be good. Let me watch a little bit. It's kickboxing. And you come in and you're like, DC, wait until you see this Pereira in real life. And I'm like, okay, he's good, DC. He might be the best kickboxer that we've ever had.
Cormier wasn't fully convinced at first. He had watched a bit of Pereira's kickboxing career, but he hadn't done a deep dive. I'll be honest with you, I had watched him a little bit. I hadn't watched all of his kickboxing, he admitted, but with all the buzz surrounding Pereira, he decided to take a closer look. I was like, okay, this dude's supposed to be good. Let me watch a little bit. It's kickboxing. Even then, he still wasn't completely sold, but then he saw Pereira fight up close, and that changed everything. As he looked back on it, DC shook his head, almost laughing at himself for ever doubting it. And then he does that, and I look over and I go, oh my God, you telling the truth.
Oh, well, Izzy's here. Izzy's here. He knocked out Izzy twice, DC, I'm telling you.
Knocked him out once.
Or knocked him out once,
Yeah.
beat him by decision. And I'm like, yeah, that. And then he does that, and I look over and I go, oh my God, you were telling the truth.
Dude, he's something fierce.
I mean, this is Sean Strickland,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Bro,
With a left hook. With a left hook.
Cormier pushed back a little, bringing up Israel Adesanya. Well, Izzy's here, you know. Like, Izzy's here, he pointed out, reminding Rogan that Adesanya is one of the most accomplished strikers in MMA. But Rogan had the perfect response. He knocked out Izzy twice. He made it clear that Pereira didn't just beat Adesanya once. He stopped him in one fight and edged him out in another. That was the moment Cormier knew Rogan wasn't exaggerating. And then he does that, and I look over and I go, oh my God, you telling the truth. Dude, he's something fierce. Seeing Pereira in action erased any doubts. His power, precision, and composure were undeniable. Then, they brought up one of Pereira's most brutal finishes, his knockout of Sean Strickland. I mean, this is Sean Strickland. Yeah, right? Yeah, with a left hook. A left Rogan emphasized how effortlessly Pereira took out Strickland, a fighter known for his toughness and durability. Cormier chimed in with even more perspective. I mean, the guy who's now the middleweight champion of the world. It was a chilling realization. Strickland went on to win the title, but against Pereira, he didn't stand a chance. And he took him out easy. It's clear from their conversation that Pereira isn't just good, he's a different kind of dangerous. Whether it's kickboxing or MMA, when he lands that left hook, it's game over.
Not easy.
A year.
Yeah.
He was the champ in a year.
Dude, he's got 2 world titles and 11 fights.
In 2 years.
It's insane.
He's been in the UFC. Dude, I don't know, Joe, if we had, and he's here in Austin. So I'm going to go hang out with him later.
Nice.
I'm going to see Pereira. I
That's
like
awesome.
him too.
I love that dude.
He smiles.
Yeah.
He actually smiles before he just.
It wasn't just his power or his skill, it was the sheer speed of his rise to the top. He was the champ in a year, Cormier pointed out, emphasizing how rare it is for a fighter to achieve that level of success so fast. Rogan was just as impressed. Dude, he's got 2 world titles in 11 fights in 2 years. It's insane, he said, shaking his head at the numbers. Most fighters spend years grinding their way up the ranks. But Pereira walked into the UFC and started collecting belts like it was nothing. He's been in the UFC, dude. I don't know, Joe. If we had... Cormier trailed off, almost struggling to put into words just how crazy Pereira's run has been. Then DC threw in a personal note. And he's here in Austin, so I'm going to go hang out with him later. I'm going to see Pereira. He made it clear that beyond just being a dominant fighter, Pereira is someone he genuinely likes. I like him. I love that dude. Rogan agreed, and they both laughed about how Pereira has started to show more personality outside the cage. He smiles. Yeah, he actually smiles, Cormier pointed out, and Rogan quickly added, before, he just didn't smile. Now he smiles. I just don't think he wants to smile after fights or before fights.
He just want to fight.
Stays cold.
He's there for a reason.
Yeah.
To just beat somebody's ass.
Well, he was so extraordinary in kickboxing. When I watched him in kickboxing, it just some dudes just have some extra gear, some extra power. It was shocking. He would hit guys, boom, and they would just like stiffen up and flatline. You're like,
with 10-ounce gloves.
Fuck.
That last part hit home. Pereira isn't the type to put on a show or play games before a fight. He just wants to fight, stays cold. He's there for a reason, to just beat somebody's ass. That's the kind of mindset that makes him so terrifying. He's not in there for fame or for the spotlight. He's there to finish people. Rogan then took a step back and reflected on Pereira's kickboxing days. Well, he was so extraordinary in kickboxing. When I watched him in kickboxing, some dudes just have some extra gear, some extra power. It wasn't just about skill. Pereira had something that couldn't be taught. It was shocking. He would hit guys, boom, and they would just like stiffen up and flatline. And the craziest part, he's still doing it, even against the best fighters in the world. Like with 10-ounce gloves, man, he's doing it to everybody, like literally everybody. At this point, there was no denying it. Pereira isn't just another champion, he's something different. A rare kind of fighter who walks into any division and makes it his own. Rogan and Cormier continued breaking down Pereira's insane rise, reflecting on how quickly he went from a relatively unknown MMA fighter to one of the most dominant champions in the sport. He was 3-1 when he made his debut in Madison Square Garden, Rogan pointed out, reminding everyone just how little MMA experience Pereira had when he entered the UFC. But despite that, everyone knew the plan. You knew that if he was able to win a couple, they would rush him to Izzy, and that's exactly what happened. Cormier still seemed in disbelief at how it all played out, and he got there and he beat him, he said, shaking his head. But then he added something even crazier, and I don't know how Izzy beat that dude, man. Pereira had dominated their rivalry, knocking Adesanya out in kickboxing and then stopping him in their first MMA fight. But when they ran it back, Adesanya did the impossible. He knocked Pereira out cold.
He made his debut in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And you knew that if he was able to win a couple, they would rush him to Izzy. And he got there and he beat him. And I don't know how Izzy beat that dude, man. Because
he caught him perfect.
He caught him
perfect.
If that fight would have kept going, I don't think Izzy was going to win. He was hurting Izzy bad.
But DC wasn't convinced that Adesanya would have won if that fight had kept going. He caught him perfect. He caught him. That moment, that one perfectly placed counterpunch was what changed everything. But if it hadn't landed, if that fight would have kept going, I don't think Izzy was gonna win, Cormier admitted. He was hurting Izzy bad. That leg was fucked up already. It was done. That's one of the most dangerous things about Pereira, his leg kicks. Rogan couldn't help but marvel at how Pereira does it. It's crazy how good he is at that, he said, almost in awe. It takes like 2 or 3. That's all it takes, just a couple of those brutal, precise leg kicks, and an opponent is already compromised.
How good he is at that.
It takes like 2 or 3.
He doesn't move his hips. The way he does it is so beautiful because there's no telegraphing at all. He's just moving there and slap.
Slap.
And you got 1, 2 in there, 3, and you start seeing the welts. Here he had a big...
But what makes it so effective is the way Pereira throws them. He doesn't move his hips the way he does it. It is so beautiful, Rogan continued. It's not like other fighters who wind up or telegraph their kicks. Because there's no telegraphing at all. He's just moving there, slap, slap, and you got 1, 2 in there, 3, and you start seeing the welts. That was exactly what happened to Gigi Prochaska. Gigi had a big welt on his leg. And if Pereira can do that to someone as tough as Prochaska, imagine what happens to anyone else. At this point, the conversation wasn't just about how good Pereira is, it was about how inevitable he feels. Whether it's middleweight or light heavyweight, kickboxing or MMA, the guy keeps proving over and over again that he's built differently. Rogan and Cormier weren't the only ones who understood just how dangerous Alex Pereira was. Even Israel Adesanya, one of the best strikers in MMA history, had felt that power firsthand and knew exactly what made Pereira such a nightmare to deal with inside the cage.
Because first round, I think I won. And the second round, I was winning. But then that fucking leg kick, bro. You know what it is? You look at his foot. You look at this bit of his foot. It's like a hammer. like the back of a hammer or a hammer like a ball pen. It is, because that's what he kicks you with.
Breaking down their fight, Adesanya didn't hold back. "'Cause first round, I think I won, and second round, I was winning," he said, recalling how he had been in control early on. But then, everything changed in an instant. That fucking leg kick, bro. It wasn't just another strike, it was a game changer. The kind of shot that could turn a fight on its head. Adesanya had been in the ring with elite kickboxers his entire career, both in MMA and during his days as a professional kickboxer. He had taken countless leg kicks, blocked them, absorbed them, and countered off them. But what Pereira did was different. It wasn't just about power, it was how he landed them. You look at his foot, you look at this bit of his foot, it's like a hammer, like the back of a hammer, Adesanya explained, emphasizing that Pereira's technique wasn't like anything he had experienced before.
You know what it is? You look at his foot. You look at this bit of his foot. It's like a hammer, like the back of a hammer or a hammer like a ball pen. It is, because that's what he kicks you with as well. When he hits you with that, you just feel it like, ooh, that's bad. I've been kicked by kickboxers all my life, but when he hits you with that bit, it's just a certain.
It wasn't the kind of strike that just stung. It reverberated through the entire leg. And he hits you with that. You just feel it. Like, oh, that's bad. He continued, almost reliving the moment. The problem wasn't just the pain, it was how it affected movement. "I've been kicked by kickboxers all my life, but when he hits you with that bit, the surface area is so small, but it travels and transfers through your whole calf, and you're like, oh, I can't put weight on this." That's what made Pereira so terrifying. He didn't need to land a dozen kicks to slow an opponent down. Just one or two well-placed shots, and suddenly everything changed. The stance became compromised, movement became sluggish, and the ability to evade his knockout punches started slipping away. It was like being stuck in quicksand. The more you tried to adjust, the worse it got. Adesanya knew firsthand how devastating that could be, and he had a clear message about what was coming next. I think that's going to be a problem this weekend for Khalil. Pereira wasn't just a knockout artist with his hands. He was a master of destruction in every sense, picking his shots with precision and breaking down even the most skilled fighters. When he entered the cage, it wasn't just about if he would finish his opponent, it was about how soon. And with guys like Rogan and Cormier still in awe of what he's done in such a short time, you have to wonder, how much further can he go? One thing's for sure, if you're standing across from him in the cage, you better not blink. Do you think Pereira is already the most dangerous striker in the UFC? Or does he still have more to prove? Let me know in the comments.